Hello friends, welcome to English Shorthand class. Ready? 1, 2, 3, start. The line of nationalism. Second, autocrats feed on polarization. All three have championed a virtuous nationalism rooted alternatively in evangelism in Brazil and the US, or Hindutva in India, animated and weaponized by the demonization of the other. Ethnicized nationalism works by demoting the other: Muslims, blacks, immigrants, gays, secularists, and all those who subscribe to ideals of civic nationalism, to the status of the undeserving and the morally deficient. Membership in the community of the nation is essentialized. Mr. Trump demonized immigrants, channeled white supremacy, and stoked fears of blacks invading suburbs. Mr. Bolsonaro routinely smears his opponents as banditos or communists and has a long track record of making homophobic and misogynistic remarks. Mr. Modi has a long record of debasing India's 200 million Muslims, and when re-elected in 2019 doubled down on his party's platform of making India a Hindutva project, first by turning Kashmir into a militarized colony of the central government and then pursuing laws that are perceived by Muslims as according them second-class citizenship status. In diverse societies, ethno-nationalism can only fuel social polarization, and a polarized society is a society that cannot mobilize the trust and solidarity that responding to a pandemic calls for. The pandemic itself was shamelessly used to inflame identities, with Mr. Trump denouncing the Hong flu, Mr. Modi's minions raising the specter of Corona Jihad, and Mr. Bolsonaro hurling homophobic slurs at mask wearers. More than anything else, this explains why the most common sensical public health measures, wearing masks, restricting social interaction, testing, and getting vaccinated, all became so politicized in the US, India, and Brazil. Third, once in power, the autocrats quickly personalized, centralized, and insulated their power. All three have attacked the Constitution, demanded fealty from independent institutions, overridden the authority of expert institutions, tampered with data, assaulted the independence of the media, and elevated loyalty to the leader as the highest principle of service. The autocratization explains the dismal failures of governance. The core tasks of a government in times of a pandemic: coordination across levels of government, clear and consistent communication of basic policies, and health measures, support for frontline workers, and maybe most importantly, rallying all citizens to stand together have all been subverted by the autocrats' will to power. A pushback. In the US, India and Brazil, this toxic combination of messianic populism, social polarization, insularity, and centralization has made the pandemic that much worse and poisoned the waters of democracy. But democracies are not just about their leaders. Throughout the crisis, healthcare workers and civil society organizations have stepped up where their leaders have failed and democratic institutions have pushed back. Mr. Trump has been exposed by the media and shown the exit by the voters. The Brazilian Senate has launched a very public investigation into Mr. Bolsonaro's handling of the pandemic, and his poll numbers have plummeted. Mr. Modi has just been repudiated in state level elections, and the Indian Supreme Court has called out the incoherence of the government's vaccine policy. But to take comfort in the hope that democracies will demand accountability, we must first remember, as the pandemic continues to ravage India and Brazil, that it is not only the virus but also the hubris of autocrats that kills.